I'm, to be clear, against imperialism of all kinds. It's just at the moment, the dominant form of imperialism is, let's say, Anglosphere imperialism. So not just the US, but what we see as the West, but specifically the US, UK, and their ecosystem of client states. So the unfortunate reality of the post Second World War world order, and especially the post Cold War world order, is that the dominant hegemonic place of the UK as an imperial power was taken over by the US. And they are the best students of the old British Empire as well, and have learned from many of the structural weaknesses that the British Empire had. So the British Empire directly ruled its colonies, be they in Asia or Africa, whereas the modern form of imperialism is much more subtle. It's very rare to see some sort of hegemonic power, colonial power, directly controlling territories outside of its core metropole. Instead, they manage countries to turn them into what are called neo-colonies. So this is something that Kwame Nkrumah, the first prime minister and also first president of Ghana, wrote about. He called it neo-colonialism, and he said it was the final form of imperialism. And in neo-colonialism, you have countries that they look independent, they look sovereign, they have institutions, they have elections, they have this public facade of being independent, democratic. However, their political and especially economic decisions are made abroad, and there's just a native face to it. That happens in Latin America, it happens in Africa, it happens in Asia.
Oh, all right. So you can say that this system of imperialism was a direct replacement of the earlier colonial practices that existed.
Yes, it became difficult. So difficult to explain to populations back home after the devastation of World War II. Why are we, spending money on India and Kenya and Ghana when London got bombed? There was a change in government. They got Clement Attlee, the first Labour government. They started building a social welfare state for the first time in the UK. In France, they gave up their colonial empire because of internal restructuring, that they got a new republic, new constitution. So it went from the Fourth Republic to the Fifth Republic. They lost Algeria. And then they gave countries in West Africa a choice. Do you want to be part of the French community or do you want full independence? And this was quite a poison chalice. When the British gave independence, or when the French gave independence to their former colonies, it wasn't with a view to give them full independence. They would sabotage it internally to make sure that these countries remained economically colonies. And that's what's important. They should remain a source of cheap labor, a source of raw materials that you can then import to France or to the UK or to the US, and then add value, generate employment, create a big industrial economy, and then export it back to these countries as finished goods, as value-added goods, or as services. And that you spend enough money to keep the local native elite in your good books. You educate them, in Paris. You educate them at Oxford and Cambridge, and develop a symbiotic relationship with them. So that's neo-colonialism. And to give you an example of this, I believe it was Guinea in West Africa. When the French gave Guinea its independence, uh, Charles de Gaulle said to the leader of the independence movement that if you choose to become sovereign, you choose to become independent, I won't create an obstacle to it. You can. Or you can be part of this federation of French territories. He said, no, I want to be independent. My people demand sovereignty. They were granted their independence, but the local French settlers, so the white French who were living in Guinea,
Mhm.
upon this declaration, do you know what they did?
No,
They uprooted telephone lines, electricity poles, the sewage
my
system,
goodness.
saying all of this was made by France for us, not for you. and they
Wow.
sabotaged the infrastructure, the basic infrastructure, roads, electricity, telephones, drainage, so that this country could not stand on its feet. And so all of
Mm-hmm.
these countries in West Africa today, the Francophonie, are they fully independent? Most of them are still managed by France. They're still remote control. That's neocolonialism. And in the case of India or South Africa or Kenya, it's a much more sophisticated British form of neocolonialism. And in Latin America, you have the American form.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.